Hello guys, welcome to Bhamna's Online Academy. So in this video, we are going to see the paper presentation, how to present your paper like an all India ranker for practical subjects. So before I start with this video, let me tell you that we have already made a video on theory subjects on how to present your paper like a ranker. Do watch that video, I'll link it in the description box below. And yes, so without any further ado, let's get into the video guys. So in this video, I am going to divide the video into two parts. One, first we are going to discuss the common points that we have for all practical subjects, and then I'll go subject wise on furthermore if there is any other important points. Yes, so let's start. So first, starting with the common points. So the first question everyone has is, how essential are the working notes in your examination? Because when it comes to practical subject, you always have the main solution and after that you have a few working notes when you see your suggested answers. So always remember that working notes are very, very important. Even if your final answer is absolutely wrong, but if your steps are there and if the steps are right enough to be awarded marks, then you'll be definitely awarded marks. Like for a 10-mark question, if your final answer is wrong, at least 8 or 9 marks you can get in the question, because for the final answer, usually always 1 or 2 marks are only allotted. So the step marks for that 9 or 8 steps, what you have done correctly, you will definitely get. And also remember, if your final answer is correct but all your steps are wrong, then you only get 1 or 2 or 0 marks also. So marks and step marking is there and they are very, very essential. So don't forget to make your working notes. On how to make this working notes, I'll discuss in a little detail when we do the subject wise analysis. Yes. The next important points is talking about formats. Are formats also important? Formats as per ICI module. So what are the formats that are given as per ICI module? Let's see that. So when you see, you have for your accounts, you have this debit, credit, amount, date, particulars, and your banking chapter formats, NBFC, consolidation formats, where you have this PNL and balance sheet format. So are these formats important? Definitely yes, because your examiner is going to see the ICI model answer paper and then compare your paper with that. Yes, so if in the answer paper, if a certain format is given, you need not, copy and paste each and everything from the format, but the basic format like the debit, credit, particulars, or the banking, NBFC, consolidation, these are like basic formats which you have to follow. There's no second doubt about it. So those formats also have to be in your paper. Yes. And then when we talk about taxation, you have they will ask you like total income computation questions. In that you have to go stepwise, like income from profit and gain, income from capital gain, income from then your IFOS. So you have to make this, and like you have to make a sub column as well as a column, whereas in the final column you will write the final answer, the total of income from this, the total of income from this. But to come to this total income, you are going to use a few steps, correct, few adjustments which you are going to use. You have to write that in the inner column. So try to make sub columns and the main column for your DT exam. And also one thing that you have to very much remember is that you have to write a heading before starting any answer. It's not like you have to just take your question paper, you go on reading your question paper and then directly start with your answer. The answer is no. You need to write the heading. If it is suppose accounts paper, then your balance sheet or profit and loss of which year, of which company, you have to write that. If in case if it is a DT question, then you have to write computation of total income or computation of ITC or whatever it is. Yes, so you have to give that heading also. So the formats are very, very important. How do you know what and all formats are there? So whenever you are going to revise every chapter, after the revision is done, just go back to your ICI model, take a 10-minute break, go to your ICI model and just go through all the illustrations and practical questions which are given related to that chapter and see what kinds of formats are being followed there. So that will give you a great help on finding out the formats and replicating it in the exam. Yes. After the formats, the very important point that we are going to discuss here is that for this is importantly for people who sometimes lose that 1 mark out of 40 marks, so lose it 1 mark when it comes to that 60 marks, like they get stuck in the 39, 59. This is a great hack for you all. So what you can do is that you can solve all the questions to increase your mark. That means if in a question paper there are totally 5 questions, out of which 4 questions you have to answer, then usually there is a myth in the market that what they say is you will be awarded marks for the first 4 questions that you do right. Correct. The answer is no. If you attempt all the 5 questions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you will not get marks for the first 4 attempted question, but you will get marks for the best 4 attempted questions. You'll get marks for the best 4 attempted question. Suppose you know question number 1, 2, and 3 very well, but question number 4 and 5 you're doubtful about, and you have time in the exam, then try to attend both the question. So in whichever question you're going to get more marks, that question will be taken into consideration, or that marks will be taken into consideration to calculate your total marks. So it is not the first 4 questions you answer, but the best 4 questions that you answer for which will be awarded marks, and this is what is being seen in a lot of certified copies too. Yes. So that was about solving all your questions to increase your marks. The next is if there is any rough work or calculations that we have to do. Where do we do this? So what you can do is you can take your answer sheet, the last 1 or 2 pages, you can name it as rough work, and you can write it in bracket that no questions will be answered in this page. Yes, and there you can do your rough work or your calculations that you have to do. Then next is the blank pages. So sometimes what happens is that we leave a blank page where we have to write our answer. Sometimes we don't remember answer, and what we do is we leave a blank page and then go to the next question thinking that we'll come back to this page and write our answers whenever we remember it. Sometimes what happens, either you don't come up with an answer or you just don't have time to finish that answer. So whatever space is there, pending space is that, just put a X mark on that page and you can continue with your other work. Yes, but cross the page whichever you have left blank once you have finished your entire paper. Done. Next, talking of decimals, so up to what decimal points have you should take in your exams and do? Usually 2 decimal points is what is seen. So usually 2 decimal points you can take and write your answers. If somewhere you're rounding off any figure, then in the bracket please write that you have approximated that answer, right? Whatever the answer is in the bracket, write approximate. Yes. Okay, fine. And then talking about assumptions, are writing assumptions also important? As much as important are your working notes, your assumptions are also important. So the examiner knows if there are, two ways which you can take about an answer, and you're choosing one, and you know that you're choosing this one, and there is also one more method of doing it. Then in such case, when you already know there are 2 options and you're choosing one, please make sure that you write what assumption you have taken and come, so that examiner will also correct your paper accordingly. And the common assumptions which you can state and come is the number of days in a question you are taking. Somewhere we don't take 365, we take 360 days. So there you can write that assumption. Then face value, whether you're taking a 10 rupee face value or a 100 rupee face value, those options, those assumptions also you have to write and come. Fine. Then talking about the conclusion, so this is very very important. So usually what practice do we have is, whenever we write a theory paper, we underline the important words or the key phrases or the key words. Yes, but what when it comes to a practical paper, what can we do there to highlight our answers is that once you've finished your entire answer, go back to the question and see what exactly they have asked. If suppose they have asked that you have to calculate economic order quantity and come in your examination, then once you've made the entire calculations, everything, you need to come at the end and write a full sentence that the economic order quantity is so and so units or whatever, and then box the answer and come. Please box your final answer and come. Whatever the conclusion is, write that conclusion, underline it, and whatever the numerical final answer is, please try to box it and come. Okay, understood? Writing the conclusion for every question, every practical question is important. Yes. Okay, then finally coming to short forms. So short forms can be used in the exam or not? Okay, suppose now I took a example of your economic order quantity. So what is the short form we use for it? EOQ. Okay, and then this has a formula too. So here what you need to remember is that if EOQ is a word, it's a short word, of course. If the same short form is used in your ICAI module also, then you can use that short form in your exam. But if there is any short form which is not given anywhere in your ICAI module, you cannot go and take it and use it in your exam. So always remember the short forms which is approved in the ICAI module and they have used it in the ICAI module, you can also use it. If they have not done it, then you also have to write the full form of those and come. Fine. So that was about your short form. So now we have discussed all the common points relating to the practical subjects. Now let's go paper wise. Yes. So first starting with your taxation paper. So what are the important points that you have to remember is that, so in taxation also you usually have the main solution and then you will have to One second. Yes, you have your main solution. Then you have to make your working notes. Correct. Working notes meaning explaining a provision that have helped you in arriving at the answer. So in such case, there are two approaches which can be followed. There are totally two approaches which can be followed. The approach number one is that you write your entire solution, and in the end you give the reference to notes. That means you probably make an adjustment here. Usually what they do is they make the adjustment, they come to the total answer, and near that adjustment you can probably write refer note number 1, and then you go to your note number 1 and then write whatever the provision or the adjustment on what basis you have done. That you can do. Okay, first write your main solution, arrive at it, and then give notes reference and then write whatever the adjustment explanation is. If not, there is a second approach where you can write the explanation along or below the adjustment itself. Suppose now you have done adjustment. Suppose now you have done adjustment. So here itself you can put a bracket and write the entire explanation. You need not put note number 1 and then write the note number 1 below. You need not do this. Directly once you have given your, any adjustment, put a bracket below itself, you can write the explanation. Usually this method is what is followed in your ICI. Okay, for taxation specifically, you can check your ICI module or suggested answers for this. If not this, then you can use this approach also. But always remember, choose any one approach before you enter the exam hall itself, and for all the answers apply the same approach itself. Okay, so it's easier for you, you need not think about let me write like this or write like that. So presentation shouldn't be a problem in the exam. So both the approaches are acceptable, and for one answer you can use this, for one answer you can use this, but for your easier, time saving, I'm saying follow any one approach, choose it now itself. Okay, these both approaches will be found in your ICA module, you can check that. Next, are section numbers important to quote in taxation examination? The answer is no. Don't quote your don't quote your section numbers if you're not very sure of it. Okay, if you know it very well, then definitely you can do that. Yes, that was about your tax paper. See here, if you see your tax paper, as I can show you, they have written the computation of total income and tax paid. So if there are a few questions in a taxation where they have asked you some provision or explanation, then you can give that explanation the first and then start with your computation question. See, they made a subheading and then sub column, and then they have made a main column. They have written amount here. So like that you can also do. Fine. Next is coming to your accounts paper, and the very important part is how do you present your accounting standards, because 20 to 25 marks of your paper is going to be this. So this 25 marks, how you have to present, you have to very well know, and that's what we are going to discuss right now, the very most important part. Let's coming to your accounting standard presentation. So accounting standards, it can be of two types. One, there can be a practical accounting standard question or a theory accounting standard question where you have to write the provision and tell them whether it is the right approach or not, or a practical where you have to come up with a numerical answer. So theory can be your AS number 1, your AS number 4, your AS number 5 and log, and your practical, suppose your AS number 2, AS number 16, all of that. Yes. So the important approach that you have to remember for this is that first, before starting either a practical or a theory, this is a common point. This both are common for both practical and theory. First, you have to write the relevant accounting standard number and accounting standard name, and marks are there for this. It is very important. There are very little accounting standards, and you have to remember the AS number and the AS name. Okay, you have to remember this and you have to quote it in the exam. So you can write as per the provision of AS2 inventories. Okay, so you can just quote like that and come and start your answer. Okay, so usually whether it be a practical question or a theory question, a particular section or a particular provision of that AS will only be tested in the exam. Correct. Suppose in AS2 they are testing the cost or NRV, whichever is lower, that part they are testing, suppose. So you have to quote the relevant provision and also come in that exam. So cost or NRV, whichever is lower. So every, what do we say, AS or in every accounting standard will have a few important provisions that are given in the book. So try to remember those important provisions if possible. If not word to word, at least the keywords, and try to quote that important provision also. So the provision are related to what the question is, plus the AS number and the AS name. All this you have to write. This is common for both practical and theory. Okay, so then for practical, what you have to do is once you have quoted your AS number, AS name, the relevant provision, you can start writing your main solution. Provide working notes. For AS also working notes are important. Please understand that, and assumption writing is also important. So write your main solution, then give your working notes, and then your assumptions. Okay. What about your practice? I mean, in this box, your main solution. Remember that also. What about your theory? In theory, how you answer your law questions like that, you can answer. What are the provisions? You can first start with the provisions also. So, like I told you, your AS number, name, and the provision. Then, what are the facts of the case which are given in the question? What is the analysis you're making out of it? Compare the provision and the facts, like provisions as per given in the book, facts as per given in the case. Compare both and then come to a conclusion. And please try to underline the conclusion. And please try to underline the conclusion. Yes. So, now that was for your accounting standard question. Yes. So now once that is done, let's move on to seeing the other parts, what is important in your accounts question. So for the other questions, apart from your AS question, you have to write the main solution first and then make your working notes. So you can do actually vice versa also. Marks will not be cut for that. If you're confident about your working notes first, and first make all the working notes and then give your main solution. Or you, but you need to very well box it. Like if you're starting an answer and if you have working notes here, box it and write working notes. Box it and write main solution. Okay, or if you're doing your main solution first and your working notes next, that also you can do, but preferred method will be main solution first and working notes next. But whenever you're doing anything, make sure you're giving your reference in your main solution as to which working note it is related to. Okay, done. Then when you're writing your journal entries, writing the narration is also very important. Marks are there for that, so please don't forget to write your narration whenever it comes to your journal entries. Fine. So that was all about your accounts paper. Now going next, moving on to your final discussion that we are going to have is your FM Eco paper, financial management paper to be specific, and your costing papers. In costing and financial papers, what is different is the formulas. So do we need to really write the formulas and come, because if suppose there is a ratio, current ratio they are asking, so it is what, current assets by current liabilities. Okay, so that time, do we need to write this ratio income, or directly can we do current ratio equal to this by this income? Current assets also what and all you're including, you have to write. Current liabilities also what you're including, you have to write. So it is very important that you quote your formulas. You cannot leave quoting your formulas. You cannot directly start with your answers. You have to quote your formulas everywhere. Suppose see, here there is a question of Walter's model from financial management. So here they have first quoted the formula. So since there is a lot of short forms in this, they have taken this and explained one by one what each one means. Yes, what each abbreviation means they have given here, and then they have started with the main answer. So this is what you have to do. This person, I think, has got very good marks, but okay. See, they have underlined the answer. Rather, what you can do is you can box the answer here. Yes. So this is what you have to do. Quoting the formulas is very important. Use full, if you're not using full forms in the formulas, then below please give an explanation to it. Okay. Yes, guys. So I've discussed all the points relating to your practical paper, and I've provided a theory video also, which is also very informative. And this video has been made on the basis of analyzing more than 50 plus certified copies, and I made a cluster of all the important points that has to be given to you. Yes. So hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And if there is any doubts in the video, kindly comment them down below and I'll clarify them, and share it with, importantly, with your CA friends and CA students, because exams are approaching super soon. Yes, thank you guys.